Hi everyone, if you're new here, I'm katjaonyt, and today we are going to be looking at the books that I read in June, as well as some of the books that I read while I was off booktube for a couple of months. They are a mixed bag from brilliant to middling and covering a diverse range of genres and styles. I think for one of them I even have an unpopular opinion. Anyway, first up, The Adventures of Amina El-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. Amina is an ex-pirate who has survived backstabbing rogues, vengeful princes, several husbands, and one actual demon. She has now retired peacefully with her family to a life of piety, motherhood, and absolutely nothing that hints at the supernatural. Thank you very much. Except, of course, she's then offered a job. She tries to refuse but can't. Perhaps part of her is actually thrilling at being forced into having this one final adventure and getting back together her old crew. This Sinbad-esque tale of daring is such a fun narrative, with Amina dipping in and out of the story to address us, the readers, directly, while squabbling about the accuracy of her tale with one or another crewmate. Expect magic, mayhem, humor, diversity, and so much more. It's a romp, rich and bursting with intrigue, secrets, and magic. I do feel, as a criticism, that it can feel like a lot of groundwork is being laid, but it also feels necessary because we know it's a series and we as readers will want to become familiar with the conflicts Amina has to handle and overcome in this story and in the stories to come. Then we get on to a contemporary novel, You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, which took BookTube by storm. The rave reviews last year meant I instantly bought the book. Anyway, the story follows Fehi, our protagonist, as she navigates the tricky waters of grief and self-destructive tendencies. Her quest for genuine connections and self-acceptance form the heart of the story. My expectations were so high, thanks to all the rave reviews, and it didn't meet my expectations. Not to say that I hated it. I ended up feeling like this was such a middling book. I liked as much as I disliked. I liked the concept, but found the trajectory of the story so predictable, if messy, in terms of the romance. Also, there was such an element of insta love that made me think of that preteen in the Disney movie Inside Out, and she had that imaginary boyfriend who would go, I would die for Riley, I would die for Riley, except this time it was, I would blow up my life for Fahey. I don't know, I just disliked it. It was just too, a little bit cringe. Anyway, there are such beautiful bits of writing in this book that it made me feel, what is driving my unpopular opinion here? I mean, it is so well loved. Can't put my finger on it. There's little bits, the insta love, also the sex scenes that actually I understand are supposed to be showing us Fahey's self-destructive patterns and how she's dealing with grief, but in the end actually detracted from the story for me because I liked all of the writing around it. Amazi's writing is really beautiful, but it felt like all the sex scenes were like fluff and filler for me. And loads of other people had such a different opinion. So it's interesting to sit down and think about reader preference. This is the one that really surprised me in how much I just found it an okay read. And clearly people found really groundbreaking, and it upsets me when that happens because I love to love my books. I've mostly got positive reviews on this channel. I actually had a friend of mine say, "You need to do more rant reviews because you need to create some conflict, just like with." Books have conflict. You're not providing enough conflict in your reviews, and this is almost it. I mean, I don't hate it, but yeah, whatever. You're going to get mostly positive reviews on this channel because I generally know my style of book that I like to read, and I don't want to not enjoy books. I'm not going to pick things that I think I'm really going to dislike. Next, I read The Final Strife by Sa'ara El-Arifi. In this epic tale, danger looms everywhere. It's a world on the brink of destruction, but fear not, for our courageous protagonist steps up to embark on a perilous quest to save her homeland. gripping storytelling that brings to life a world that's inspired by Ghanaian folklore and Arabian myths. It is quite a dystopian world, so the stakes are always high for our characters. And there are three castes of people in this world: those who bleed red, those who bleed blue, and those who bleed clear. The caste system is brutally maintained, and it could have been complicated to keep in mind as a reader who can do what and why. But the delivery is really, really clear, and I was happy to find that I could keep the details straight in my mind. The characters are really well crafted, and many are flawed in fascinating ways. The book is action packed, and I am definitely going to be diving into the sequel, The Battle Drum. Then we get on to The Magician by Colm Toibin. Really well researched, very detailed historical fiction novel delving into the life of the German author Thomas Mann. The story itself spans early childhood up to his death and includes two world wars, so it's pretty got a huge scope. Eloquent prose and meticulous research bring Mann's struggles and relationships to life. For the first third of this book, I wondered if I was going to DNF it. I have an aversion for when adults sexualize children and was really wary where Mann's fascination with boys of around 14 would lead. And it led in the direction of him writing a book about someone who's fascinated about boys who are that age. And it didn't become actualized in any other way, which was such a relief to me. So I carried on reading. But it up to that point, I was like, oh, I don't know. I really don't know about reading this book. Now, Thomas Mann's family was certainly interesting, and I learned a lot about other members, including his 6 children and his brother Heinrich. This book's given me a lot of background to the inspiration that sits behind Thomas Mann's works, and I'm glad I read it in the end. The author and his family are brought to vivid life in this book, and there is a part that might have been from his actual diaries or may have been fiction from the author, but it's where his sister tells him he is the most straightforward of all the siblings. She believes that Thomas doesn't suffer from the same dichotomy that his siblings do. But really, as a reader, you know that he definitely does, perhaps more so than them. He is pulled in opposing directions all the time when it comes to class, politics, sexuality, and so much more. Then we get onto The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. It's just a dark, epic fantasy, the first book in the series. It pulls readers into a dark, brutal world inspired by Norse mythology. Expect skillful prose, meticulous world building, and gruesome battle scenes. The host of characters are compelling, and through them, we explore themes of heroism, vengeance, and sacrifice. So there's little that I can actually say about the main characters, three key ones, in fact, without going into spoilers. But the scale is grand and the writing is compelling. And I've already started the sequel, The Hunger of the Gods. I am really hopeful that the third book will be released later this year. So, yeah, so then I can just binge them. Then we go on to The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. Maya finds himself the unpopular but most appropriate choice of heir in the line of succession to the throne of an elven kingdom. Part goblin, he has prejudice to deal with on top of the usual court intrigues for a monarch. This is the first in the series, but I think it can be read as a standalone as the other books follow a side character and not Maya. Compared to the other fantasy novels we just looked at, the pace is less frantic and less concentrated on battle scenes. The scale is more compact. It sits largely around the court of Maya. I enjoy epic battle scenes, but this book, with its intricate plot, doesn't need it. It manages to capture our attention through courtly intrigue and relatable characters. The Honjin Murders by Seiichi Yokomizo takes readers on a thought provoking journey into a locked room murder mystery case set in rural Japan. I enjoyed the intricate plotting, eccentric characters, and clever twists. It kept me engaged, trying to unravel the secrets and motives behind a baffling crime. It really showcases his mastery of the mystery genre and why this has become a classic in Japanese crime fiction. But I did find it a tad slow, and I don't know if that's because it is an older book. It's from 1946, but on the whole, I liked it. It's not my favorite mystery, but it's an okay one. Next up, The Diving Pool by Yoko Ogawa. Now, this is not the cozy read we got from Ogawa in The Housekeeper and the Professor. The tone is entirely different. It dives into the deepest, darkest depths of the human psyche. Renowned for her subtle and atmospheric storytelling, Ogawa explores themes of loneliness and the complexities of human experience, but all in such a way that leaves you uncomfortable. I really was. I was like, "Ooh," but I couldn't help myself from carrying on reading. It's like when you have an intrusive thought that you're appalled about for yourself, but multiply that by 10 and put these thoughts into the minds of people who act on them to a greater or lesser degree. Each story leaves a lasting impact, haunting your thoughts long after you finish reading. So it's a novella that has 3 novellas within it, short stories. Yeah, good. Anyway, good but dark, so definitely not for everyone. Diary of a Void. Diary of a Void by Emi Yagi, a quirky novel that uses subtlety to tackle systematic inequalities in Japan's economy. Through our main character, Shibata, the book explores themes of gender, age, and class, shedding light on the challenges faced by women in the workplace. Heavy topics, but all of them handled so lightly you might miss it. It's handled with a touch of eccentricity that takes the story down an unexpected turn as Shibata pretends to be pregnant. I say unexpected, it is in the synopsis. But initially, she has positive changes that happen in her life, including her male colleagues tidying away their own cups and food and more. Without being left to do thankless tasks in the office, she finds she gets on the train home in time to have a seat rather than having to stand in a mass of other passengers. The perks seem never endless for a pregnant woman. It all seems really pleasant and fun. But oddly, it's really impactful about us getting to see some of the undercurrents happening in Japan's society and also tackles themes of loneliness. Really good. The Woman in the Purple Skirt by Natsuko Imamura. An enigmatic tale that explores the boundaries of obsession and voyeurism. The main character has stalkish tendencies towards a woman who likes to wear a purple skirt. I enjoyed the oddness and the absurdity at times of what could have been a deeply disturbing story. The humor and the ability of the author to show the reader the main character's flaws in glorious detail almost leave us feeling like we're the ones who are spying on her life, while she's actually the one spying on the lady in the purple skirt. The stalker initially feels like the main narrator, but really we're glimpsing more of her than her self awareness allows her to convey to us, or even to understand about herself. So Imamura's distinctive writing style creates a sense of mystery, drawing readers into a peculiar world and leaving them with lingering questions. Really well done. Like a lot of Japanese novels, it is all in the subtlety. So it's not a book for everyone if you like things to be really explicit. Before the Coffee Gets Cold, this is set in a cafe in a small back alley in Tokyo. Here, the staff have been serving carefully brewed coffee for more than 100 years. But this coffee shop offers its customers a unique experience and the chance to travel back in time. The journey into the past does not come without risks. Customers must sit in a particular seat, they cannot leave the cafe, and finally, they must return to the present before the coffee gets cold. This whimsical novel combines elements of fantasy and magical realism. It invites readers to contemplate the transient nature of time and the importance of seizing second chances. It's a cozy, heartwarming read and offers a delightful escape, although you may find the plot predictable in places. And finally, we get to Tokyo 1995, 5 men gathering around at a racing track every Sunday to bet on the horses. They have little in common. They are united in their dissatisfaction only with life in post war Japan, and they embody the social struggles and sorrows of an era. We have a socially awkward genius working as a welder, a demoted detective with a grudge, a Zainichi Korean banker facing discrimination, and a father raising a teenage girl with Down syndrome, all brought together by the fifth member, an elderly pharmacy owner mourning his grandson's suspicious death in Lady Joker. Now, driven by desire for revenge against a society prioritizing corporate giants over human life, they planned to kidnap the CEO of Japan's largest beer conglomerate and extract compensation from the company's corrupt financiers. Lady Joker is actually inspired by a real life unsolved kidnapping by The Monster of 21 Faces. And the book itself has become a cultural phenomenon since 1997, its publication. It's had numerous, or two, two or numerous, I think it's numerous adaptations for film and TV, and is included in the school curriculum. Now, available for the first time in English translation, Takamura's novel is divided into two novels, each approximately 600 pages long. I started volume 1 during my second bout of COVID-19 when my mind was foggy, and I had to take a break as it's a challenging read. I picked it up again when I was well, and I still found it challenging. But anyway, the first 300 pages serve as a lot of groundwork, which I wasn't keen on at the start. But as my focus improved, I began to appreciate the insightful exploration of Japan's culture and the class divisions, be it economic or related to caste or immigration. The large cast of characters took me a while to get to know, but once I did, I truly became engrossed. Takamura's intricate plot and complex characters delve into themes of identity, power, and the blurred boundaries between our professed values and our actual actions. So I've now started volume 2, and interestingly, some of these main characters from the first volume have taken a bit of a backseat. So it's still a mind workout. The style of this book is blowing my mind, and it demands dedicated time and concentration. Still, I'm finding the payoff has been worth it for me so far. I'll let you know in the review of volume 2 if that's how I still feel at the end of this reading journey. And that's it. Those are my recent reads. Have you read any of these? Are some of these on your list of books to read? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thanks so much for joining me. Take care. Bye.